Bandidos, it's time to return to the relentless battlegrounds of Washington, D.C., where danger lurks at every turn and the pursuit of the ultimate gear is a never-ending journey. I'm TuxedoBandido, and today we're immersing ourselves in the intricacies of 2 must-have builds in the Division 2. Whether you're a seasoned veteran or a fresh recruit, I've got you covered. In this 2-part guide, we'll walk you through the creation and utilization of 2 powerhouse builds. One that will skyrocket your XP gains, and another that will have you decked out in the finest gear. We'll be covering the essentials of each build, breaking down the gear, weapons, and skills needed to maximize your effectiveness in the field. These loadouts are carefully crafted to make you an unstoppable force. Beyond giving you the power, we'll also deliver the strategy. We'll share tips and tricks on how to optimize your playstyle for each build, ensuring you not only survive but thrive in the unforgiving world of the Division 2. If you're ready to level up your game, farm XP, and secure the best gear in the game, you're in the right place. Gear up, agents. Let's do it.
Watch this.
And if you don't know, now you know.
I got 2 builds for you today, Bandidos. These loadouts are about dominating the field, maximizing XP gains, and ensuring you're decked out in the most elite gear the game has to offer. Let's start with the XP farm build first. You need this build for 2024, and moreover, I suggest you have it and fully optimize it before the next season drops. That way, you can use it to farm the rewards track and get all that fancy loot. And the new exotics, super fast. When it comes to farming XP, the best place to do it, the open world. And I'm gonna show you some best practices around that after we do the build walkthrough. Let's jump into the details.
Entering dog zone.
The best XP farm is not an activity, it's a build. And this is my go-to. I use this to rip through the rewards track super fast. And with this one, you can get to level 100 on day 1 in a matter of hours. With this build, it won't matter whether you're new or an experienced player, but you need to be at level 40 on your character in order for this build to make sense for you. Notice, we're running 1.9 million armor, and we're one-shot chain-killing elites on heroic with all 5 directives. It's insane. We're playing out of cover and without a shield, and we feel invincible, clearing control points on average between 3 and 5 minutes, loading you up with tons of XP, loot, resources, and brain-bursting adrenaline. So why is this an amazing XP build? For one, all of those headshots are giving you bonus XP, and all of those chain kills is further granting more bonus XP. And when you're running directives, that's boosting any activity you do by 125%. You can run this with and without exotics, and there's lots of options to tweak this build as you see fit. Starting with the specialization, I run sharpshooter. That's giving us 15% weapon handling in the form of breathe control, which is technically target acquisition speed and stability. And it also gives you 15% more headshot damage, which is nice. Let's look at the gear pieces. Starting with the mask, we're running 4 pieces of Hunter's Fury, yet we're not using a shotgun or an SMG, and we don't care. 3 pieces is giving us 20% armor on kill. 4 pieces is giving us Apex Predator. So when you're standing within 15 meters of the enemy, you're getting 20% amplified damage just for standing there, and every kill after, you're stacking 5% more amplified damage up to 5 times. And when you get a kill, any enemy around that is going to be disorientated. That buys you time to reload and kill the rest. All the pieces are basically going to look like this. We got armor, headshot damage, and protection from elites. If your protection from elites mod isn't max rolled to 13%, don't worry, just go with what you got. I have armor and headshot damage here on the gloves, on the knees, you guessed it, and the holster looks exactly the same. No surprises there. All right, for the chest piece, I'm running Habsburg. That's because it already comes with an armor core, making it easy to farm. I have weapon handling, headshot damage, more protection from elites, and headhunter. Headhunter chest piece is vital. This is going to give us 1,250% of our last headshot killing blows damage. All you need to do is make sure you're running greater than 150% headshot damage to be able to utilize the full buff, which we are. I'm running 158% headshot damage on my primary, which is a rifle, so we've barely made it, and that's why Habsburg is a good option, Providence being the second best to make sure you get over that threshold. Otherwise, you're gonna have to sacrifice one of your protection from elite mods into headshot damage, which is also okay. As far as the backpack goes, I'm using the Memento. It's amazing. We're mostly using it for the bonus armor. So we're getting 10% bonus armor on kill for every blue core we have. We have 6 of those. So that's 60% bonus armor on kill. That's basically 1.2 million in bonus armor on kill when we grab that trophy. And those stack 1.2, 2.4, 3.6, in addition to our 2 million armor armor, we're running around with crazy bonus armor. Look at this right here. Talk about tanky. And that's why we can play out of cover without a shield, because we're killing so fast. We are stacking that bonus armor really fast. We're hardly ever using the actual armor on kill that Hunter's Fury also provides. So that's just a failsafe. But the memento is not done yet. It's also providing us 3% armor regen when we have 30 memento trophies stacked. Huge. We're also getting 30% weapon damage and 30% skill efficiency off that backpack. You can see how valuable it is, especially since we're playing out of cover and moving quickly. Even if you're not playing out of cover, that backpack is great because you're gonna get that armor regen, which is really gonna help, and a steady 30% weapon damage. For skills, I definitely recommend the decoy and the attack drone. That's right, so the attack drone is gonna also help distract enemies, helping you minimize incoming damage. And since we're running directives, one of those directives is cool skills. So we want skills that have really good durations. Hey Bandidos, the community we have built together wouldn't have been possible without you. So as a thank you for supporting my channel, I am bringing you the hookup on member perks, including even more Division 2 content and the celebrated gaming music playlists. If you're not part of Tux's Players Club, now is your chance. All right, my primary weapon is the 1886. This rifle is really strong and really good for directives. It is able to one-shot kill enemies just like a sniper. And it doesn't require a lot of ammo. So when you have the Pistolero directive, it's not a problem. Once you get ammo, you're good to go for hours. We got rifle damage, crit damage, damage to targets out of cover. I use mine a lot, so I put some expertise on mine at level 17. I don't think you're gonna need any expertise on yours to make this work. But if for some reason you're not one-shot chain killing, then what I recommend you do is just take off one blue core off the build. That should probably fix it. But you shouldn't have that issue because I'm able to one-shot chain kill off of my first kill without any mementos. And the memento is giving us 30% weapon damage once we have our trophies. So if you're not doing it right away for some reason, maybe it's the expertise, maybe it's not, just wait till you get some trophies under your belt and you'll be all right. So it has 5 rounds in the mag. That's 5 kills in the mag with this build. So I'm running the talent Determined. I also show gameplay footage using preservation if you want to become even more godly on the regen side, but Determined allows you to play faster because you don't have to slow down to acquire the smallest hitbox on the enemy, the head. So there's a mechanic for this. You do need a headshot, but it's only a few. Once you get it, once you activate Determined, you're good to go to land that shot anywhere on the enemy's body. And this is really good. It's a neutralizer and closes the gap in skill, making headshot builds more realistic for more players. My secondary weapon is the Nemesis. You don't have to run this weapon. I use it for bosses and big heavies. If you don't have it, I recommend running the White Death with a scope. You could also put Determined on your White Death if you want to. And then the pistol also works as a primary weapon if you want to go with this instead. So this is the D50 and put Determined on this. So once you get your headshot kill, you can just chain kill with this. With this one, however, it's going to be more reliant that you're playing inside 15 meters in that apex predator zone that Hunter's Fury gives you. So that's the build. The mechanics are this. So you need to use your heavy weapons like the TAC-50 or the Nemesis to first get your headshot kill. That's going to fully activate your Headhunter chest piece. It's sort of like a shortcut when you do that, because it's going to throw you all the way to the cap, which is 1,250%. I recommend you get that first headshot kill inside 15 meters. So sneak attacking is a great way to get that clean shot before you alert the enemies. Once you get that headshot kill, switch over to your rifle with Determined. You need one more headshot. That's going to activate Determined. Now you're good to go to shoot the enemy anywhere on the body.
Entering dog zone.
Bandidos, if you're looking for the best gear in the game, then you need to go to Countdown. The Countdown game mode is the best way to farm gear, exotics, and named items in the game. And I'm going to give you the build that I use to do it. Countdown is an 8-player game mode that you can set targeted loot to whatever you want. Brands, gear sets, whatever. And it drops a ton of loot when you're in there. So make sure you have the space in your backpack. You also get tons of named items at the extraction point, and they come with amazing rolls. And that's not all. By successfully extracting, you get requisition credits that you can spend at the Countdown vendor on named item caches that contain the best gear in the game, including Dark Zone exclusives, as well as exotic caches for your chance to roll the dice and get those ever so elusive exotics in the game. If you're gonna random matchmake for Countdown, I recommend running on challenging. That way, in case anybody drops, which tends to happen, you still have a shot at successfully extracting. Today, I'm gonna be showcasing the build that I'm using on heroic so that you know if it works for that, it'll also work for the challenging difficulty. So if you're new to the game, Countdown isn't isn't very difficult. However, it'll seem confusing when you first start. So the best strategy if you're new is just to follow the pack. That means many times you can have multiple shooters on the same target. And those targets are going to be extremely tanky because they're prepared to take damage from 8 different players. And so for some reason, you're always basically running in a circle in this game mode. And there's not a lot of play from cover going on. So you want to build that has a lot of resistance and a lot of damage. Basically a tank DPS build. And there's these things called countermeasures, which are kind of like directives, but they buff you when you activate them. And they can make your builds extremely strong, give you more skill damage, skill haste, hazard protection, etc. But you don't know what you're going to get, so you don't want to plan your build around those. The build that I'm bringing you today is going to allow you to play out of cover, deliver great damage with excellent resistance, and you're going to be a great team support for heavies and those nasty hunters. You're going to be able to neutralize them so that you and your allies can focus fire and bring them down quickly. One of the greatest things that this build does is keeps those hunters from using their armor kits because they're already tanky as it is, and when they use their armor kits, it makes that fight go way longer than it needs to. Countdown is a time game mode, so time matters. This is a pretty straightforward build, so I'm going to go quite quickly. Okay, so we're running 4 pieces of Heartbreaker. It's giving us assault rifle damage or LMG damage, weapon handling, and Heartstopper. So Heartstopper is basically 1% bonus armor, 1% weapon damage, stacking up to 50 times when the target is being pulsed. Now you can activate a pulse with headshots, so you're gonna need to squeeze those in with this build. On this one, I got weapon damage and crits. For the chest piece, we got weapon damage and more crits, and this comes with the talent called Max BPM. This doubles your stack, so we now have 100% bonus armor and weapon damage potential. Now I'm also running the backpack. This is a really good backpack, by the way. I have armor and more crits here. Now this comes with cold, which is doubling your bonus armor. We're now getting 200% bonus armor and really easy to acquire. Probably the easiest bonus armor to acquire in the game. The knees are armor and crit chance. And for the gloves, I'm going with the contractors for that damage to armor attribute, since all the enemies in the countdown are basically elites. And I have crit damage there. Okay, here's where things get fancy. I'm running the St. Elmo's engine. One of the reasons why I chose this build is because I know the St. Elmo's engine is easier to get for new players than the Ouroboros, but it's also going to synergize with our holster. I'll talk to you about that in just a second, but this is a really good assault rifle. It's got great mods, 20% crit damage, which is amazing, 20% weapon handling, unheard of, 20% crit chance, and a plus 30 rounds. That's a 70 round mag assault rifle. Crazy. Damage to targets out of cover on mine, and Actim S, which basically on stacks, you get to earn shock ammo. And that's one way to neutralize those enemies. Hold them still so that you can focus fire, especially those real challenging targets like hunters. For the backup weapon, I'm just running this ACS shotgun. I'm not really using it too much, but you can use this to build stacks quite quickly if you want to. Now for the specialization, I've elected to go with Firewall, and that's because it's giving us this shield, the Striker's Shield. It's an offensive and defensive shield, and it's a tier 3 shield because of our armor cores. It gives us more damage per enemy standing in front of us, and since there's hordes of enemies in the countdown game mode, this scales quite a bit. And so you don't really need this shield for defense, except it is helpful against hunters, but we are using it for a mechanic to hold those hunters and large groups of enemies. So this must be run in order to achieve what you're seeing me do in this gameplay. Anyways, this is giving us 12% damage per enemy standing in front of us, and that scales very nicely. You need some sort of heals, so I definitely recommend the Fixer. This is our only source of heals on the game, and it's enough because we got tons of bonus armor. Okay, the holster. This is the Shocker Punch, and my favorite application for the Shocker Punch is Countdown because there's so many large groups of enemies and hunters. So it gives us armor, explosive resistance, and hazard resistance. In order for this to work, you have to run it with St. Elmo's, so otherwise you're not getting anything out of this holster. So anyways, using St. Elmo's engine with this holster will give extra melee damage, which is sort of whatever, but the next melee attack will apply shock to that target. Without a shield, if you melee a target, you will shock them, and the cooldown is 15 seconds on that, which is really fast, by the way, for something like this. So when you have the shield and the St. Elmo's equipped, and you melee somebody with the shield, then you're going to shock anybody within 5 meters of that melee. So you can do that on big groups, on those helicopter drops, and definitely melee those hunters, especially if it looks like they're going for that med kit. As far as stats go, I got 60% crit chance and 101% crit damage. And overall, I got 1.3 million in armor. I felt like that's good. And that's the build I use for the best gear farm in the game.
Entering dog zone.
Okay, when it comes to farming XP, I got a guide and some tips for you. So not too long ago, the devs rebalanced all the XP in the game. They touched every activity from Warhounds to the Dark Zone. And what they did was ensure that all activities were rewarding basically the same amount per hour. That's because a lot of players weren't really playing the game. They were just playing an activity over and over and over again because they wanted to level up. And the devs wanted to ensure everybody was experiencing and enjoying the game. You hear some people say that the best XP farm in the game is public executions. When it comes to XP per hour, I haven't found that to be the case. However, if you want to play that activity over and over, it's not a bad XP farm. And one of the reasons why is because the enemies that you engage in public executions are a nice mix of enemies, from normals, veterans to elites, where when you take on a control point, you're getting nothing but elites. But with a build like the one that I'm recommending, it doesn't even matter. Elites are made of paper. And with this build, it's gonna feel like you're playing on story mode. Some people also recommend playing on challenging with 4 directives instead of heroic. And you can do that. There's definitely nothing wrong with that. So I dropped down to challenging and put on 4 directives. And the reason why they're recommending 4 directives is so that you don't have to worry about ammo with Pistolero. But with this build, again, ammo's not an issue, which is why this is the best XP build in the game, because it has an answer for all the directives and doesn't rely on skills. So dropping down to challenging with 4 directives and focusing on public executions, I can clear 2 public executions that are really close to each other in just about 3 minutes. These just so happen to be really close to each other, but this is the XP that you're gonna get by completing that activity on challenging with 4 directives. But after I clear these 2 that just so happen to be right next to each other, now what? And that's the problem with this strategy. Now you have to look around the map, find another place to fast travel, hopefully near another public execution, eliminate that public execution, go back to your map and find another one and a place to fast travel that's hopefully near that public execution, and do it again and again and again. So that's a bummer, because all of that is going to be taking time away from just playing, and it's more limited than you think. So part of XP farming efficiently is actually also by zone. So the Southwest and East Mall and around the monument are the best areas to farm XP. That's because the faction you face there is the True Sons, and the special ammo directive can really hurt on some of these factions. But with the True Sons, it's just bleed, which does slow you down, and it is a little bit annoying, and it can get you killed. However, you have enough bonus armor to resist that. But when you go over to like the Outcasts, they're gonna catch you on fire with a single bullet, like you're made out of gasoline. And when you go to Hyenas, they're gonna disorient you, which means you're gonna pop out of cover. You can't get in cover, you can't vault, and have a real hard time shooting. So really, the best faction to farm XP is the True Sons. And in this zone, which happens to be loaded with tons of resources and control points that are all lined up for really easy farming. I did test all of these things thoroughly when the devs made their changes initially. We went to challenging with all directives, we went to heroic with all directives, we did things with no directives, we did control points, we did public executions. Okay, so here's me taking on a control point with all 5 directives in heroic, and I can clear it in the same time we cleared 2 public executions on challenging with only 4 directives. But with heroic, activities get more XP, plus level 4 heroic control points deliver way more loot than you're gonna get from those public executions on challenging. And you're gonna get more rewards in the form of resources and the possibility of exotic components, and a better chance of getting named items and exotics from those named bosses. You're gonna get 2 per control point, and public executions don't offer any named bosses. And with this build, named bosses aren't a problem. Usually 2 to 3 shots are gonna eliminate most of them. So not every control point is built the same. Some of them are gonna take you 5 minutes to complete. Some of them will take you 3, some will take you 4, but you're gonna be in that range. And if you go down, you have a control point captain that's able to pick you up. You have civilian support. When you do public executions, you don't. But when it comes to XP, in the end, it's not gonna matter which route you do. All things are relatively gonna come out to the same. It just depends on the variables that are outside of your control that's gonna make one way of XP farming better than the other. For example, when you're farming heroic control points, there's a good chance additional resource convoys and rogues are gonna enter that fight, giving you even more XP without having to travel. And maybe when you're farming those public executions on challenging, you get quite a few of them right next to each other and are able to minimize your travel in between. And maybe that helps you get more XP that way. But at the end, you'll find that you're probably getting about the same XP, to the point where you can choose whichever route is more rewarding for you overall. And for me, it's heroic control points, because they feel like I'm playing on challenging, whether I have directives or not, when I'm using this build. Moreover, it's more engaging. I'm getting more loot and a chance at better loot than if I went to challenging. And for me, gear and resources also matter. Why not get additional benefits? All right, Bandidos, hopefully you enjoyed this guide. If you have any great recommendations to farm XP or builds that get the job done, be sure to share them with the community down below. Thank you for hanging out with me today. My name is TuxedoBandido, and this was another episode of The Division 2. If you found this video helpful, subscribe, like, and turn on notifications to ensure you don't miss out on the fantastic experiences waiting for you in The Division 2. And if you like builds like this, check out the recommended build video I have here for you. If you have anything you want to see covered, be sure to let me know in the comments below. And thank you to all the channel members and donors who make everything possible. Tux Nation wouldn't be without you.
Follow me.
I get it.